Hey, everybody out there in TV land. I hope your day is going great, whether or not you're watching or listening to this at any given time. My name is Eddie, aka the Bearded one of the owners here at Flynn's Arcade and More in Margate, Florida, and you have began to listen to and or watch episode 2 of Press F to Start. It's our podcast all about news, games, and updates and things you may want to pay attention to, and other geeky news and geeky tidbits or geeky nuggets of gold, however you want to say it, that you might find interesting. And I really appreciate you tuning in for episode 2 as we begin to go through it. If you have comments, questions, ideas, maybe topics that we should cover, by all means, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, email, wherever. On all our social medias, it's Flynn's Gaming FL. Flynn's Gaming FL, and then our emails info@flynnsgaming.com. A special shout out to those underneath the Uncensored Nerds Network. Other podcasts you may want to check out. We have Comic-Con podcast. We got Issues, Plot Hole Pro, and Beyond the Cape. Be sure to check them out also on Instagram. And of course, as I begin to roll these out wherever you're watching, I'll be sure to tag them appropriately and give you those particular links. But before we get started, remember, guys, we're actually reporting live from our studio here at home base at Flynn's Arcade and More in Margate, Florida. We're located in Broward County, which is like 20 minutes west of Fort Lauderdale. And if you're in town, we'd love to see you. The arcade is pretty much open every day of the week other than Mondays. It's $15 unlimited play, meaning there are no tokens, coins, or quarters. Step up to a game, press start, and just have some fun. We're just under 4,000 square feet with about 85 arcade games on the floor, including pinball, air hockey, foosball, basketball games, and a bunch of other cool stuff. And our studio here where I'm at is actually located in our hobby shop right next door, Flynn's Hobby, which you can Google also, like literally right next door, like I think like 30 steps next door. And if you're looking for a space to record your next podcast, or maybe you want to record an audiobook or a music production or a voice actor thing, hit us up, guys. We are going to begin renting this space out, and there's a bunch of really affordable options. And if you'd like more information on that, hit us up at studio@flynnsgaming.com. Once again, that's studio@flynnsgaming.com. And we got a lot in store for you for this particular stream or podcast, better yet. But I couldn't do it alone. The one, the only, Jake James Lugo is with me. Hey, Jake, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, Eddie. How you doing? Good evening, I should say, because it's so late at night.
I know. Depending on when people are listening to this or watching this, it is roughly almost midnight here. But we chose this time because, well, that's when we had available. So I'm doing well, Jake. Can't complain. Today's been an interesting day. Had a lot of conversations about other nerdy tidbits, which I'd be more than happy to get into. But before we get started, are you familiar with Rikishi, Jake?
Yes, of course. I'm a big wrestling fan. I come from a wrestling family, so I watched Rikishi live years ago when I used to live in New York.
Awesome. So, you actually saw him live?
Yeah, I've seen him live before, yes,
What?
when he was with Too Cool.
Dude, that's awesome, man. So Rikishi is here at the arcade, technically tomorrow in 15 minutes, on Friday, February 21st from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. here at Flynn's Arcade and More in Margate, Florida. Dude, I'm sure his wrestling match, what you witnessed in real life, was totally epic. I had the privilege of hanging out with him and Sarah and a bunch of other cool people over at Thank You Miami 305. Thank You Miami is a great cocina, a beer house in Miami. Be sure to check them out at Thank You Miami 305. Well, anyways, that was his first stop. And I have to say, we've had many celebrities and special guests here at Flynn's over the years, and we are so fortunate and so blessed that each special guest that we have is super chill and super awesome and like very down to earth. I spent a good few minutes just chatting it up with Rikishi yesterday after his signing as we were waiting for the ride to pick us all up, and it was really cool to just talk about like everyday stuff and just hear a little bit about his story and what was going on. But I'll let Rikishi tell his own story tomorrow here at Flynn's Arcade and More in Margate, Florida. So if you're around town, by all means, definitely come by and check us out. So a lot of cool gaming news coming up, guys. But Jake, before we begin, I'm sure these beautiful people out there in podcast land want to know if they want more Jake James Lugo in their life, which I mean, who wouldn't? Where should they hit you up?
Well, you could actually find me everywhere, literally at every single social media platform, as well as also every single content creation platform. You can find me at youtube.com/ at Jake James Lugo. You can find me also on TikTok, tiktok.com/ at Jake James Lugo, uploading brand new gaming related and pop culture and entertainment videos every single day in both places. Also, Star Wars, also a lot of other related things to movies and TV. I'm also on Twitter. I'm on Threads. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Instagram. Every single one of those places, I'm at Jake James Lugo, and I'm constantly just talking a whole bunch of stuff on all those platforms every single day.
Awesome, dude. Well, I know that all your content is like, like honestly, I don't say this like, to blow smoke, but your content is like pretty much like if something's happening, you're posting about it like almost immediately,
Practically, yeah.
almost
Practically.
immediately on either TikTok or Twitter or X or Facebook, wherever it is. So if you
Yeah.
guys have questions also, and I've seen Jake interact with this community so awesomely through the comments section, hit him up, ask those questions, dig deep into the content and or lore. This man is a walking encyclopedia of video game news and just stuff that bro. So always a pleasure to have you, man. Appreciate you being a part of Press F to
Mhm.
start. Super excited to see where this path is going to lead us down the road. So let's get straight into it, guys. It is February 20th, 2025. We try to do a recap of things that you may want to pay attention to in the upcoming days or weeks, or maybe something that just happened that you didn't know about here in the gaming world. So let's start straight out of the gate. Coming from pushsquare.com, Fatal Fury City of Wolves open beta is ready to throw down on PS5 and PS4. So, Jake, give us a little
Mhm.
history about Fatal Fury in general, because maybe you have people who don't really know about the game and are interested in checking it out.
Yeah, so if you know anything about fighting games, you know that there's been multiple companies that have come out that have made fighting games over the years. You have Capcom, you have SNK, you had Midway, you have many others. So SNK made a series called Fatal Fury, which eventually turned into The King of Fighters, which also eventually turned into Garo Mark of the Wolves, and many other different games and spin-offs that have happened over the years. The most recent game coming out now is called Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, which is a nod to both Fatal Fury as well as also to Garo Mark of the Wolves, which is like a spin-off to the Fatal Fury and the King of Fighters series. Basically, this is going to have a lot of characters you're familiar with if you've been playing all the games up to this point. The open beta is happening now on PlayStation 5. I actually had a chance to play the open beta earlier before I came on this podcast. I got a little bit of time online as well as also going into the tutorial modes with the game. And it's exactly what you would expect. If you played Garo Mark of the Wolves, this is pretty much exactly what you were going to expect, but with a couple things added into there as far as the timing, as far as the way that it feels to play different characters and stuff. I think there's about 8 characters in the beta right now. I could be wrong in the number, but I know there's a lot that you get to choose from. That's a little bit less than what you're actually going to get in the full roster when the game comes out later. I think it's pretty good. I think it's interesting. I think it's fun so far from what I played. I'm going to be playing it throughout the weekend. It actually lasts. The beta goes from the 20th to the 24th of February. So if you haven't already and you have a PlayStation 5 and if you have PlayStation Plus, make sure that you get onto it because it's actually really fun.
I see here that the playable characters, the beta boasts about 8 playable characters. We got Rock, Terry, how he's pronounce this? Hotaru? Did I pronounce Hotaru, Kane, and then obviously,
Mhm.
like you said, it's from the 20th to the 24th. So whether or not you're
Yeah.
listening to this now or between that time frame, be sure to check it out if that's something that interests you. It says here that City of Wolves is still on track for its 24th April release date. So obviously, this beta makes a mark in the significance of being able to roll out for the people to play. But while we're talking about betas, now mind you, Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, all the games that Jake mentioned also have their roots obviously in arcade games, right? So I've
Yeah.
played the King of Fighters. We have Neo Geos here at the arcade with the I forget 1 in 161 cartridge or whatever it was with the King of Fighters, and it's really cool to see that transition from arcade to modern day console, see that transition happen and also see that crossover. So my question for you, Jake, is this. Let's say I have somebody listening to this and they're like, well, what is a beta? I know what it is because obviously we're in that space. So
Yeah.
what is a beta, and also how do people readily get access to it? Because I mean, bro, you always have access, not always, but I see you constantly pushing like, oh, I have beta to this or beta to this. I mean, are there tricks of the trade? Is there something people could pay
Not
attention
really,
to?
no, because as in the case with the Fatal Fury beta, it's pretty accessible to anybody that has a PlayStation 5 or anybody
Okay.
that has PlayStation Plus.
Okay.
So companies sometimes, if they're re-release, if they're pre-releasing a game, they want to get an idea of like what the player base is going to be like, how it's actually going to be online. They're going to stress test the
Right.
online servers. They'll have a beta for it, which gives people a chance to play the game prior to the full release. So it's not the full game, but it gives you a taste of what that game actually is. And some betas are open beta, which is what this Fatal Fury one is. And some betas are closed beta, meaning that they're only available to a select group of people. And usually that's when you have to register for it or you have to be chosen by the company or you're, again, in my case, I'm part of the media. Sometimes I'll get offered the ability to actually play in betas. There's been a couple of games that I've had, even in the most recent like couple years, that I've been in a couple different betas. And I'm trying to think of a few, but I know that there's been a few that I've been in on Xbox Series S and Series X, and I can't. The games are like not coming to me right now, but it's one of them that looks very similar. It's an FPS, but it's got uses these cards to have like different perks and stuff, and it looks a little bit like I want to say kind of like. Oh my God! I was just like my name. The names are like escaping me. But again, it was last year that I got into it that I got to play. But the other beta that I got into recently was the one for Elden Ring that we
Yes.
talked
Yep.
about
Yep.
last
Yep.
episode.
Yep.
That was a closed network test or a beta.
Well,
So pretty much it really depends on the game, depends on the company. So different betas for different people.
now with the beta with Elden Ring, we talked about that last weekend when we were over at Animate Miami, which was a really
Yeah.
interesting time. And shout out to everybody who came by to say hi and take photos. And remember,
Yeah.
guys, always if you see me in public, definitely ask me what's in my pockets. I'm usually carrying around Flynn's tokens for you awesome people out there in TV land. But you had mentioned something about the Elden Ring beta that happened.
Yeah.
What happened?
There was a whole bunch of problems on that first day that people weren't able to access it because maybe there was a lot of people that were just jumping onto it at the same time. So obviously the servers were being bombarded. At the same time, people were going in and out of it. Remember, it was a closed network test and not everybody could get into it. They might have a couple other days down the line, maybe, depending on what goes on, but who knows at this point. But at least people were able to play it eventually.
On the topic of Elden Ring, well, I mean, kind of going into the Dark Souls world, is it true that in Dark Souls there is no jump?
No, there's a jump. There's different games that have different mechanics, different
Okay.
abilities. I know that in earlier games of Dark Souls and Demon Souls, like the even doing something as simple as like jumping is a little bit annoying.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
in some games, I think you have to run or sprint first and then hit the button again in order to jump.
Yeah.
Like it's really annoying. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of the Soulsborne genre
Right.
because of just how like fickle these games can be sometimes. And I could say that as a person that actually helped write guides for Soulsborne games, specifically for Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin and Neo. I actually did it for IGN years ago. And so trust me, those were not fun to do, but still, at least I have the experience. I could say, that I played the genre. I played just about every Souls game with maybe the exception of like probably a few like Lords of the Fallen or something random like Dark Souls 3, maybe like something random like that. But still, it's just not my favorite genre.
The reason I was asking because today, obviously going scrolling through the land of TikTok, I ran across this like funny video about Dark Souls, and these guys are designers and stuff. Maybe you've seen it, where he's like, "Yeah, this just leads you down to a pit." And he's like, but people can't even jump, He's like, he was talking about like people being able to fall directly down, and I've seen all those other memes and those other funny videos that talk about how irritating that game can be. So that's why I
The
had
whole
to,
series is that design of game, that genre,
yeah.
the whole genre that's really spawned off of Demon Souls and Dark Souls is really annoying, and it's an acquired taste for people that get it and that it resonates with them, but it's clearly not for everybody because I've known people that have played games their entire lives that play difficult games. I'm talking like Castlevania, Mega Man, Ninja Gaiden, like really tough games from back in the day
Yeah.
that aren't really down for that genre because there comes a point when the challenge and the difficulty factor doesn't become fun anymore. And I feel like that's how a lot of people feel with those specific types of games. There are others that are definitely outliers. Like, for example, the Jedi Fallen Order series or Jedi Survivor. Those games are based in that design, but they're meant to be streamlined. I actually have a friend that worked on both those games. He actually worked on Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. And one of the big things that he told me that he got from his boss was that they love that genre, the Souls genre.
Yeah.
However, the audience for Star Wars is a lot more casual, it's a lot more streamlined. So you can't make a Souls game for a Star Wars fan like that because not everybody's going to be on board with it. So you can still have those same principles of the game and the design of it, but the difficulty factor doesn't need to be so extreme and so unforgiving.
Well, it's kind of like, once again, I can relate it to more arcade games here, that you step up to some arcade games and you know that person just designed the game to be like a quarter muncher,
Yeah,
you know,
quarter eater.
like just a quarter eater. Just take your quarters as quickly as possible and make it as difficult as possible. But like you said, different flavors of ice cream for different people, and Dark Souls has its people, and other games have theirs.
Definitely, definitely has its people. It has a lot of loud people, especially the Elden Ring crowd. They are very loud, as I know firsthand.
Well, the coolest thing is with video games, everyone has their take and their opinion on it. But I could only imagine in today's, ecosystem of the amount of games being put out. I mean, these games take years and years of production time.
Yeah, depending if they're AAA or indie. Some games take a long time.
So the fact of the length of these guys and gals and everybody just kind of pour their heart, soul into it, to have people just be loud about it. I mean, I guess you got to have thick skin eventually, right? you got to get used to it. So, all right, guys, if you want to check out the Fatal Fury City of Wolves open beta, once again, Jake just said head on over to your PS5, PS4. I'm assuming they can just find the invitation there.
You just download it. You go to the PlayStation Store. You should see it there. Or if you search Fatal Fury, you find it right there. You can actually download it.
Okay, and give it a whirl, guys. And we'd love to hear back from you. If you have comments or questions or your thoughts on the Fatal Fury City of Wolves, be sure to leave a comment or hit us up directly. Or I'm sure, Jake, you might do a review about it. Hit up Jake.
I'm actually doing a video tomorrow.
Oh, there you go.
I'm planning on it. I was actually, because I just got it today, so I only got to play a bit of it tonight. But tomorrow I'm planning on doing a video about it.
All right, well, jump into it, guys. Now, flipping over to, obviously, the opposite of PlayStation, into Nintendo. Nintendo has had, obviously, Nintendo does what Nintendo wants to do. So we got an article here from IGN that you selected, Jake, as something that we should pay attention to, those who want to stay tuned with what the gaming news is. It is entitled, Nintendo Discontinues Switch eShop Gold Point Scheme Ahead of Switch 2 Launch. Players with existing gold points can still redeem them after March 25th deadline. So we got the Switch 2 coming out. That could be its own segment altogether, but why should we care, Jake? Or why do people care about what's going on?
Because of a few things. Number one, obviously, Nintendo Gold Points from My Nintendo have been around for a while.
Okay.
Ever since the Switch was first released, and even before then. The other issue, too, is that this is probably being done because before the Switch 2 release, there's probably going to be other things related to the Switch 2 that I'm pretty sure Nintendo doesn't want anybody to capitalize on, to actually get like a freebie on or whatever else, a discount or something.
Yep.
It's a brand new console. They're brand new hardware. I mean, can you really blame them at this point? We're going to get a Nintendo Direct on April 2nd, I believe it is when we're actually going to see a Nintendo Direct that's going to be all about the Switch 2. Hopefully about games, hopefully about other stuff related to the hardware and other things related to it. But how that all relates to this is because a lot of loyal customers to Nintendo over the years have probably accumulated a lot of Nintendo Gold Points, because My Nintendo Rewards, if you didn't know, allowed people to get different rewards, including physical stuff that you got mailed to you, depending on how many coins that you had. If you bought a lot of Nintendo Switch games, if you bought a lot of eShop games, you get a lot of Gold Points. But so it's just something that I said in my TikTok video. Is like, Nintendo Rewards, except for the diehard few of Nintendo fans, really don't matter because they're not comparable to what you got from PlayStation Network, as well as also Xbox Rewards, where those consoles actually gave you gift cards, like on the PSN or the Xbox Live. They gave you subscription rewards, so you get like a month of PlayStation Plus or a month of Xbox Game Pass. You never really got that with My Nintendo Rewards, even though there probably is somebody that could point out that you could find things here and there, but I never hear about anybody really going crazy about My Nintendo Rewards or the Gold Points. So the fact that they're kind of removing them, I mean, it is what it is, but I do hope they replace it with something else that's probably better when the Switch 2 comes out, but who knows at this point. We'll find out on the 2nd, hopefully.
No, I agree wholeheartedly, and two paragraphs stuck out to me in particular. It said here, earlier this month, we reported there was something goofy going on over at the PlayStation Store and Nintendo eShop. Over the last few months, the two storefronts have been slowly filling up with what some users are referring to as e-slop, with more and more games tricking users into buying cheap, low-quality games that aren't what they claim to be. And then even fascinating more here is that buying games from Japan's eShop as a foreigner without a Japanese bank account recently got a lot harder. Nintendo announced it will no longer accept credit cards issued overseas and PayPal accounts opened overseas from January 25th, 2025 in a bid to curb fraudulent use. So, like you said,
it's it's like multiple things that probably aren't that related, but maybe they've just been trying to compress a bunch of different issues into one big thing, because there's definitely a lot of people that try to take advantage of the different eShops or the different digital stores on all consoles, because you get a lot of people that are trying to not only get free subscriptions, probably free games, or with the points, probably just getting different things to give them more points, using the little cards or the different codes that redeem them at some point. But there's a lot of different issues that are related to it, but for all we know, that's probably being done just to kind of, put in extra protections for people that are trying to get over. No, especially the Japanese account thing, especially if you're from a foreign nation outside of Japan. I could understand that one a little bit more.
No, I agree wholeheartedly, because the whole, like you said, fraudulent stuff. I always remember those videos. I don't know how true they are, but I have seen them go on where people will flash their redeem codes or something of that nature, and then people will screenshot it and then like zoom in and get that redeem code off, and then obviously exploit whatever options.
Yeah, that's why you don't put it on camera and stuff. But still, a lot of people are clever to get over.
Oh no, totally, man. I mean, if there's a way to cheat, people are going to definitely find out. But I agree with you. Let's wait back and see, or let's sit back, wait and see what Nintendo rolls forward with the Switch 2 coming out. Like you said, maybe there's a new reward program or something totally different that they don't want, people kind of like, I don't know, knowing about just yet. We'll see what happens with that, because Nintendo's always up to something else. When is the release date for Switch 2?
Well, I don't think they have a release date, but they have the Nintendo Direct coming out on the 2nd.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Of April 2nd is when they're going to talk about it more. So maybe we get a release date then, but I don't think we have a release date right now, as far as I remember.
Yeah, I remember seeing those snippets, those little graphics and those little videos.
Yeah, I know it's probably going to, if it's not this year, it's definitely early next year, but if I was a betting man, but I would say the 2nd is probably, we're going to find out more about that.
So Switch 2 comes out, Jake. What game would you absolutely like to see come around the corner straight out of the gate? What would excite you?
Well, I don't know the launch lineup, but I'm guessing based on that video they put out there, we're probably going to get a new Mario Kart or something related to Mario Kart. I would also say Metroid Prime 4, which I think is going to be a big deal. Remember, that got announced not that long ago. That would make sense to put that onto the actual Switch 2. There's been talk about a new 3D Mario, but we won't know until we see what happens on the 2nd, if they actually are going to do something with it. But it'd be nice to see what comes next. But again, I feel like April 2nd is going to have a lot more clarity for a lot of these things.
Okay. No, I agree. We'll have to sit back and wait to see what happens on April for the Direct from Nintendo. And if people want to check that out, I'm assuming it's going to be all over the place. So by all means, we'll be watching it. Be sure to check it out. I'm sure Jake's going to give a bunch of updates. We're going to have a lot to talk about once that rolls out 100%. But let's go off to something no one likes to be let go. Here, Marvel rival games game director and others laid off just months after the hero shooter took over the charts. Now, I believe we've spoken about Marvel Rivals before. You probably heard of that if you're into the gaming news altogether. If you haven't, you must be living underneath a rock. But they got let go. And Jake, you were digging into this a little bit before we started.
Yeah.
As to what was really going down. So why don't we paint some clarity based on what you know about this particular layoff?
So there's a couple things with this. Number one, we found out about this, and this whole story started when the director here in the United States put out a post on LinkedIn, I believe it was, that said like everybody just got laid off at this point because we were doing great. Our game is doing awesome. It's successful, and we just lost our jobs.
Yeah, he said here specifically, Jake, he said, "This is such a weird industry," wrote director Thaddeus Sasser on LinkedIn. He said, "I helped create billion-dollar franchises." His post continued, "My stellar, talented team just helped deliver an incredibly successful new franchise in Marvel Rivals for NetEase Games, and we were just laid off."
Yeah, and what the weird thing about this is that, that's pretty straightforward, coming from him, the director or one of the directors of the game.
Yep.
And a lot of people came out, and I think NetEase put out a statement later saying that it was actually that the main team is in China, where NetEase is based.
Yep.
And they're still working on the game. They're going to be investing even more into the game and other stuff. But that's a little hard to play out or to state when you're letting people go. It's the optics of it just look weird and stuff. A lot of people are saying like, oh, it doesn't matter. The American team got let go because the main team is in China. Like the main team that actually made the game is still okay, but it doesn't matter at that point. It's like if you're doing layoffs, it's just not a good look, and it sucks for that team because they did a bunch of stuff. Now I know that could also be due to localization stuff that they don't need anymore. It could be for other things related to the game that they don't need anymore, but who knows at this point? I think everybody saw that his statements that he put out on LinkedIn and was like, wow, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, there's no way around that. You're spot on here. In one paragraph, it states, much of the team working on the game is based in China. Other developers based in North America, including level designer Gary McGee, appear to have been fired. NetEase did not immediately respond to the request for comment. And that,
yeah, they put out a statement though.
Yeah,
put
they
out
did.
I don't remember what it said though.
It says right here, it says NetEase says the core team based in Guangzhou, China remains fully committed to delivering an exceptional experience in Marvel Rivals moving forward. A statement from the company said that layoffs were done to optimize development efficiency, but did not go into the more detail. And then obviously it says, for the full statement from NetEase spokesperson, and then you can go ahead and read the whole statement because quite a few paragraphs.
Yeah, it's a crappy situation all around because the game is successful. People love Marvel Rivals, myself included. I've been playing it every once in a while and it's fun. It's a new version of Overwatch, but it's Marvel characters. It's free to play. You can play with all the characters in the game. It's awesome. You can pay for cosmetics and stuff based on Marvel properties, including the MCU. Now, so it's a little hard to say that you're reinvesting into that game even more, but yeah, people are getting laid off after it's been so successful. It's just a shame to see.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, you've been around the game industry a lot longer than I have. And when you have game directors come into, let's say, a game like Marvel Rivals and they are let go, when game directors are given the ability to direct a game, I still kind of wonder, like, are the contracts just open-ended? Like, listen, we can let you go whenever we want. What are the stipulations with that agreement?
From my understanding, not being a developer, but I have talked to a lot of developers.
Yeah, you've talked to a lot of them,
and
100%.
usually from their experience, from my understanding, is that it's usually on a per assignment basis. You're not always getting consistent work, no matter what position you're at.
Right.
Obviously, higher positions are going to have more money. You're going to have a little bit more job security in some cases. And usually when a director leaves a project, that project is going under. That project is breaking down. This actually happened not that long ago, if you remember. I don't remember if we talked about it, but a long time ago, last year or the year before, the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, it actually was being done by Aspire Media, and they had a test or an actual vertical slice that they presented to PlayStation and to Lucasfilm like that. And eventually PlayStation left out of that whole place not happy, as well as also Lucasfilm, and people got fired over at Aspire. People, the director of the game and a few other people that were there, and it ended up being that Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake went over to Saber Interactive now, which is where it's been ever since, and we just haven't heard anything about it. The point is, all that stuff, that project could have been dead after those directors left, or that director got fired. And it's happened in other games too over the years. I know The Agent is a big one for PlayStation from years and years ago. That was like an ongoing thing, but still. Point is that especially nowadays, the job security and the way that the logistics work within the games industry, business-wise, is very, very rocky for stuff because of stuff like this. Because I feel like businesses are being a little blunt, making big decisions like that or big changes, and obviously a lot of people are not feeling it for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and whenever I hear of things being like running off to a really hot start, and then all of a sudden let's cut the fat. You would think it'd be kind of the opposite, right? It'd be like, okay,
you have more resources to devote to it to pay more people, but
or better yet, hey, what are we developing next? What are we directing next? What's coming next? Because here on the statement, I just read the last little part of it. It says right here, it says, I'm not going to say the names because obviously I'm going to butcher them, but it says that the lead producer in China remains fully committed to delivering an exceptional experience. This is interesting. We are investing more, not less, into the evolution and growth of this game. We're excited to deliver new superhero characters, maps, features, and content to ensure engaging live service experience for our
we all knew
players.
that, but the point is like it's just a weird statement to read or to see like that. Yeah, you laid off this entire team over here. It just does not look right.
The thing is, a comment on that, especially when you're outsourcing projects. I don't know where the development house is actually based, but when you're outsourcing work, because in my businesses we have outsourced work outside of the country. And, typically it is because of pay rate, right? Because of the pay rate, the pay scale is a little different. And whenever I read or come across things like this in the entrepreneurial space, bells go off in my head for exactly what you said, brother. It's like, if your game is doing well, why aren't you reinvesting, encouraging the directors, developers in order to do better?
Like there's something that we just don't know yet.
Yes.
Obviously. It's just a weird look.
It's just a matter of time before, we see what's really going down. And then perhaps, I wish the team that got let off the best, and I'm sure they're going to come up or move on to something even more dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to wait and see what this Marvel things is, Marvel Rivals cuts are going to happen.
The game's going to continue to grow. The game's going to get more characters. They're going to get more
100%.
Cosmetics. They're going to get a whole bunch of stuff that people are going to buy.
100%. It's like kind of like they used, front end, like they used the good people, not that there aren't, everybody has abilities, but they used a core team to get the game up and running from here in America, obviously in China also, and then like, you know what, peace. we're done with you. We're going to take it on. That's messed up. But you know what, guys, it's money is always the root of most things that I see that happen in business. People are always kind of like pillaging for more money or redivering money. And speaking of money, you guys probably saw. Now, I'm a huge TMT fan. You guys don't know that.
Turtles.
Yeah, you don't know that necessarily about me, but I am a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. I am an avid comic book collector of the originals, and I have tattoos with it, and that's probably the only toy that I advocately collect, and when I can afford it. But Call of Duty, obviously, and when I saw this announcement, I was like, why? You know what I'm saying? Like why? I don't remember the Turtles using guns. But
you can say the same thing about Fortnite. Like any character that goes in there that gets injected to it, they're still going to use a gun.
It's free. It's free for all.
That doesn't bother me too much, to be honest.
It's the paywall that these people are stuck. The TMT characters are behind, which is how much, Jake?
It's about $20 per character. So per turtle, it's about $19.99 plus tax or whatever if you pay tax.
And how many turtles are there?
Like you're paying, and then keep in mind, that's not even counting the battle pass. Okay, because the battle pass is another $10. So you're paying upwards from $90 to $100 for all the TMNT stuff for Call of Duty Black Ops 6 or Warzone.
Okay. So you got to shell out roughly between $80 and $100 just to gain access to the turtles.
Yep. And that includes the battle pass stuff, the premium one that also gives you access to Master Splinter, the Foot Ninja outfits, and all the other like little cosmetics for the guns and the profile stuff and everything. But yeah, you're paying $100 for that.
Now, why would it be? I mean, obviously, when you create a product, you can kind of control. You can probably shoot out any price, and you think people are going to pay it, think people are going to get into it. Like you said, you've seen it in Fortnite, right, for skins and things of that nature. Why? Why?
I'll tell you right now.
Why?
There's some companies that could just get away with stuff like this. Activision for Call of Duty specifically being one of them. The only other two that I could think of off the top of my head now that would be able to pull something like this off and people pay for it, like legit, is Fortnite and probably Grand Theft Auto, more than likely because of GTA Online. The only reason why I say is because including Call of Duty, people play these games regularly a lot. Sometimes there are people that just play these games as a platform like that. That's all they do. And they get the cosmetics. They spend a lot of money on them. It's pretty wild the amount of money that these online platforms make or these online stores make for some of these games. And, when you're getting big collabs like this, I understand it costs money stuff, but it's gonna cost money to a lot of players out there that are probably TMNT fans, but not going to be willing to drop so much money on that. Like that is a lot for the Turtles.
I was just kind of wondering, like, I haven't checked to see who owns the rights to the Turtles currently, the parent company.
It was Nickelodeon.
It's Nickelodeon through its parent company, Viacom.
Viacom.
They own the rights to TMT.
Paramount and stuff.
Exactly. Like here it's talking about Viacom acquired the global IP rights to TMT in 2019 from the Mirage Group. Obviously, Mirage, the comics also. 4Kids Entertainment, Inc. Nickelodeon also secured the global rights to the original 1986 to 1996 TMT animated series produced by Fred Wolf Films in 2023. So, I agree. Some products they can just get away with and they think they can get away with. I'm interested to see how many people actually take up on that 80. It seems like with paywalls in video games or pay to play, right? play to pay.
This isn't pay to play. This is cosmetic.
No, I
Because
know
pay to
it.
play is different. Pay to play is when you could actually progress by paying more money and you get an edge over everybody else because of it.
Oh no, I agree wholeheartedly. I think in order to play the characters, they have to pay for these characters,
Yeah, you have to pay for the
the
cosmetics.
skin,
Yeah.
the cosmetics of it, and it just blows me away when I was watching. I was watching a father talk to his kids about the cost of Fortnite skins and the cost of character
Yeah.
unlocks for Call of Duty. And in this particular segment, he is taking them through a grocery store, I think it was, or a Target.
Mhm.
And he was picking out these items, right? And then, it was $100 here, $10 here, whatever it was. And then at the end, they added up every single thing in their cart. And that was how much the children spent on Fortnite skins and Fortnite credits and all that kind of
Yeah.
craziness. And
it is.
it allowed people to realize how much they have to pay. Do you remember, Jake? You probably do. You remember those days when you could just simply buy the game and it would be on a disc
Yeah, right.
and you would just put the disc in your system?
It was content complete.
Just press power and it would boot up. You remember those days?
Yes, I do. I lived through them.
Like, what happened to those days, people? You know what I'm saying?
People
It's like,
got greedy. That's what happened.
I'm
People
telling-
got greedy and technology changed and people wanted to make more money.
I'm
They found
telling you,
ways to make more money.
I have been on a rant the last couple of days about tangible media, about media that I can hold in my hands come the apocalypse, come the hurricanes, come whatever, and I can still put it in my DVD player. I can still put it in my VHS player. Yes, I have one of those too, or my PlayStation or whatever, and I can play it forever until the game dies or the disc blows up or whatever. This society is of this, like, the streaming services and the digital downloads and all that kind of stuff. I just very weary of it because of the mere fact
Digital
that
era. That's how it is. That's just a way of life right now. That's how things have changed
exactly
with the landscape of the way not only we consume media, but the way that we have our entertainment be a convenience stuff.
Yeah.
Just the way it is. I don't think physical media will ever go away.
No.
There's always going to be a charm for that for people and stuff. But what is going to happen eventually, especially with things like this, is that you're going to see a lot of people with digital stuff start to slowly see here and there about how things get taken advantage of in ways that you didn't realize beforehand. Like, you don't always own your media, or you don't truly own the media and the digital goods, the digital games that you purchase like that, because just like at a drop of a hat, they could just ninja it out of your console
Exactly.
or of your library.
Exactly. No more soup for you. Like,
much, yeah.
like, we've decided we're no longer going to give that to you. I mean,
Well, look what happened at Concord.
yeah,
You don't know that happened not that long ago.
exactly. Or better yet, have you guys recently checked your Netflix statement and see what happened there?
Believe me.
Have you
Netflix gonna have to have a talk.
Have you checked that out? I mean, Danny and I were driving over to Thank You Miami in Miami, Florida. Check them out, guys. Thank You Miami 305 on Instagram. And we were talking about Netflix. And we were talking about having that disc mailed to you in that sleeve.
I remember that when Netflix started.
And it was just $5, right? It was like $5.99.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
you would, for those listeners out there who don't know this or don't remember this, it was literally, I don't remember, Jake. Was it by mail that you selected the DVDs you wanted? Or was there a very low functioning website?
It was a low functioning website, and I think you'd also do it at supermarkets as well,
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
yes,
At one
yes,
point,
yes.
because this is before Redbox or anything like that, but you would get it sent to you in the mail. I know that. I know you could also do it through magazines, but that was like a very end of thing that you mail in as well. But there's a lot of weird options back then. But that was when Netflix was in its infancy. Straight up.
Yeah, when Netflix was in infancy and you had these discs and you can kind of borrow them. I mean, if you guys have not checked out, and I say this time and time again, if you have not checked out your local library, the catalog that they are now consuming with tangible media there, DVDs and TV series, not to mention video games and everything up to PlayStation 5. And I don't know if you know this, Jake, or if you looked into it all, but obviously, guys, we've talked about having this digital world where everything's remote. The craziest thing of all is that if you head on over to Broward County Library, Google that, Broward County Library, and you go into their search feature, you can actually search for what game you want, request it to be dropped off at your local library, totally free of charge.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, I used to do that years ago.
Totally free of freaking charge, and it will come directly to you. So if you are looking for a budget-friendly way to play video games that you want to play, I know over here at Margate, the Catherine Library, which aka my second office, we have over there, they have everything from, I think I've seen everything from like the Wii U games, even maybe GameCube, all the way up. And there's quite a plethora. And if you go onto the county website, you can find out what game's there and you can request for it to be sent to your library. And in some cases, even mailed to your home directly. So a tidbit of gold for you people out there who want that tangible media. But yeah, guys, unfortunately, Turtles is behind a paywall of $80. It's like an action figure at Target. Not surprising, but we'll see what happens with the Turtles. Huge fan of TMT. And I know we got to see that latest movie too at the early screening, and latest movie, like the most recent one. Remember the animated one we saw? If you guys want to be, if you guys want to know about the latest free screenings we have going on here at Flynn's Arcade, join our email list. Links in our bio. Super easy to find. Speaking of movies, we were just talking about movies. Live action Street Fighter movie finds a new director. IGN reports. Now, live action Street Fighter movie. I'll be straight up, man. I didn't even know they were redoing a live action Street Fighter. I did not know that.
This has been a thing for a while.
I did not know that, bro. So
they've been talking about actually making a brand new live action Street Fighter movie ever since, if you remember, a while back, the machinimas that came out, those machinima videos, with Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, that came out. I remember that because I remember going to the panel for that at Comic-Con one year, and ever since that came out, studios have been trying to figure out a way ever since, in order to make a good live action Street Fighter movie without replicating the disaster that was The Legend of Chun-Li, because they needed people that actually know the franchise and know the IP in order to, do something that was more faithful than what we saw with some of those machinima videos. The thing is, they've been looking for a director. They've been looking for script stuff for a while now. And now they got their director, which is the same guy that did the Twisted Metal series over at Amazon.
Really?
No, it's Amazon or Hulu.
I think it is. I think it was, you're talking about the Twisted Metal series, right?
Twisted Metal, yeah, with Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, we talked about that last time, but let me confirm. So the Twisted Metal series, I want to say
it was the same director.
I want to say it was Apple, right?
No, it wasn't Apple. That I know.
It was Apple?
It was either Amazon or it was Hulu.
Or maybe it was Hulu. Hang on a second.
I think it might be Amazon.
I don't want to misstate this. So release date, it was Peacock.
Peacock, okay. Peacock,
there we go. We were both off. So
yeah, we were both wrong. But it's the same director who did the Twisted Metal series, which I'm down for because I actually like the Twisted Metal series. I've criticized it, but I'm looking forward to season 2, and I like Anthony Mackie. But if you get a solid script with a Street Fighter story that is actually really good and faithful to the source material than what we have, I think this could actually be pretty good.
Now I wanted to find the IMDb thing of the director. Do you remember their name? Is it David
I think
Jaffe?
It might be on the article.
I'm trying to find the name of the particular crew for this. The executive story editor. Where the heck is it? I want to see what other things this person's worked on. But anyways, yes, Twisted Metal. Now, whenever I think of Street Fighter, I always think of the 1994 movie.
Yeah, you mean the one with Raul Julia?
I'm talking about the live action, with Jean-Claude Van Damme and everything like that.
Raul Julia, yeah.
So that's what I always think of because, and the animated stuff as well. I mean, when is this slated for release did they give any release date?
I don't think they have a release date at all.
Oh, here we go. Honestly. Here we go. Capcom is said to be deeply involved with the adaptation of the movie, already given a March 20th, 2026 release date.
I don't think they're going to stick to that, honestly, because they don't even have a director yet. They're not even filming. I don't know if they have a script. Well, I'll be honest. I don't think they have that at all.
This is as of February 19th, 2025. So that's pretty.
So you could push that. You could push that back. You could push that back by 2027, probably, because you gotta understand. You gotta have a script. You gotta have a director this year. You probably got to start casting, and then probably by the end of the year into next year, you got to start shooting that thing, and then you got to give it time for for CGI or whatever else they're going to use for it, special effects and stuff. So I don't think they're going to hit that date.
It'd be really interesting to see. I want to see. I really hope that we get an early screening to this. That would be really, really cool to get an early screening to this particular film. But we'll see if that 2026 date comes to pass.
Time. We got plenty of time.
What is your favorite video game adaptation into a movie other than Twisted Metal the series? I know you like that.
Video game adaptation into a movie.
For video game movie. Video game movie.
That's tough because there's a couple I think of. There's the 95 Mortal Kombat Mortal Kombat 1995 is classic.
Okay.
Obviously, Super Mario Brothers, the most recent CG animated one, which I think is great. Oh man, trying to think off the top of my head, like because there's so many. There's a lot of bad ones, and that I've seen that are just not good. I think because when you go out of the movie realm, it becomes a little easier because then you can start talking about The Last of Us, as far as an adaptation. But that's not a movie; that's a series.
Well, think about. I mean, dude, Sega.
Oh, it's Sonic.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Sonic's another one. Yeah, it's Sonic. You could say that. I don't know because Sonic, in the way that it's done, it's so far removed from what the source material is for what it is. So that's a little harder to put that. But Sonic 1, 2, and 3 are just fun movies. That there's a big difference with that. It's not faithful, but it's fun.
All right, believe it or not, we're looking at the ratings for movies to video game or video games to movies, right? And this could include PC gaming as well. I put here on imdb.com, and these are the 48 titles they came up with. When I did IMDb ranking for this particular film, believe it or not, the one with the highest ranking, take a crack at it. It's a PC game. It's a PC game.
What is it? Is it
been around forever?
Oh my God, I know this. It's done by Uwe Boll, right?
You got to guess it. Go for it. What do you think? It's a PC game. It's a MMORPG.
Oh, it's an MMORPG? Warcraft?
Warcraft.
Yeah, because that's not the one I was thinking of. And that's not done by Uwe Boll. The one I was thinking of was, I think, the game called Pissed. Or is it, oh my God. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. But it's a PC game where it's like based on an FPS and stuff. It's like really weird.
So imagine. So we have here IMDb. We have the first. I enjoyed the Warcraft movie. I liked it.
It was fine.
I didn't like the ending. I did not like the ending. I thought the ending was rough.
Could have been better.
I thought better. And also I forget the I'm not a big WoW player. The female orc, I guess it was. The actor. I thought the makeup was kind of weird. Like it felt very like odd, you know what I'm saying, in that film. But man, my heart went out to that final scene. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it for you. It's been out since 2016. Hopefully you get around to seeing it. But it was rough. But all right, so that was the one with the highest MDB rating. Now let's go all the way to the bottom, and let's see if you can guess, Jake, the bottom. Oh, that's gonna be too hard.
Blood Rain, it's probably King of Fighters or
it is too hard. Random. It is really, really random. It was a game called Sly Cooper. It has the lowest ranking. Another Dragon's Lair.
Movie?
Yeah, it says IMDb ranking. It's like,
when did we get a Sly Cooper movie? I don't remember that.
It says here. I mean, maybe they messed up. They messed up on stuff.
No, I think they messed up because I would have remembered that because we got a Ratchet and Clank film before we.
Here you go, Sly Cooper. Yeah, it was a movie.
When was that movie?
Where was it? Freaking hang on a second. Let me try to find it.
So, I don't remember that.
It says I can see the front of the screen. I can see like the front of the DVD or the movie or whatever.
No, that sounds like BS. That sounds like nonsense.
Hang on, let me Google. Let me Google.
Like what year was that released?
I'm gonna look for it. Let me see if I can figure out. We got to use the power of the internet. We don't have a special person movie to be able to like Google this stuff.
Yeah,
so
because I'll tell you right now, because I like Sly Cooper. I love the Sly Cooper games, but I don't remember a movie coming out like
Sly Cooper. Does anybody remove? Yeah, it was in 2014.
2014?
Oh, wait a second. No, you're right. So they created a trailer in 2014.
Oh, that doesn't count. I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it came out. It was supposed to come out in 2016. They canceled it. So IMDb still has that as the lowest rated one.
So no, you know what they probably did? They included all the video game movies that were ever announced or a thing, but even if they never came out.
Check this out, dude. Okay, so like the next one is Dragon's Lair movie, right? But obviously we don't even know that one came out. But this one did come out. House of the Dead.
House of the Dead was terrible, but I don't think it's the worst though.
Got a 2.1 in the scoring.
Yeah, but that to me is facetious. You want to know why? Because House of the Dead at least was an action movie that had like stuff that was nods to the game. There are worse video game movies out there than House of the Dead.
All right, give me the top one and let me see the ranking. Where was the ranking?
Blood Rain.
Let's see if it comes out. Blood Rain.
There's either Blood Rain or the King of Fighters.
All right, Blood Rain got 3.0 out of 38,000 reviews.
Oh, get out of here! That should be worse than House of the Dead.
So that was actually it's like slightly above it. Slightly above it. Actually, you know what, dude? Believe it or not, that movie actually is right underneath Far Cry from 2020 or from 2008.
Yeah, nobody remembers the Far Cry movie. Like the thing was random as heck.
It's really cool. It's really interesting to
There's two
see.
Blood Rain movies, by the way. There's one I forgot the subtitle for
Yeah,
it.
hang
That's
on.
the
I'm gonna
second
find the
one.
second one. So okay, so no, this is the only one on the list. But anyways, yeah, I agree. Sometimes when they make video games into movies is not the best. But you hit some really good ones on the head, like for instance, the most recent Super Mario Brothers movie was really cool. And then I know Ready Player One is not a video game,
Yeah,
but
that doesn't count.
it doesn't count.
That's a compilation.
I,
That's based on a book, but
I
it's
still
all
like the
based on
movie.
other
I
stuff.
still like the movie. So it's cool, guys. We're gonna see that new Street Fighter movie come out. Who would you like to see, Jake, as the lead in that film?
Oh, it's Ryu and Ken. It has to be. Has to be Ryu and Ken.
Okay.
Has to be Ryu, Ken, Chung Li, and the main bad guy's got to be Bison somehow.
And who do you think could play Rhea, the two characters?
Oh, I have no idea.
Who would you like to
honestly.
see?
I can't even begin to think of like who's going to be cast as that because you got to get people that are fit,
Right.
That could get fit,
Like
and
thick.
people that are going to be passionate about doing those action sequences because you can't do it any other way.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna
And,
be
and if I was being a real stickler for it, cast actors in the nationalities of what the characters are. So
Ooh.
cast a Japanese person for Ryu, cast an American for Ken, cast a Chinese woman for Chung Li. You really play up the whole idea of the nations and stuff.
that'll be interesting. So basically, don't CGI the dwarfs and stuff like that, like in the movie. Like bring people really in to the
Oh
films.
yeah, there's no dwarves really. in Street
No, I'm
Fighter,
talking
but-
about Snow White.
Oh well, yeah, obviously.
like
but
talking
what
about.
I'm saying is like for the characters of Street Fighter, but like cast the actors that are the actual nationalities of those.
I
fighters.
agree, 100%. Give those people. It'll be really cool to see. All right, so we have another news clip here. We have. Oh, there it is. All right. So I actually was talking to one of my friends, Ben, about this today, actually, about the Final Fantasy cards that are coming for pre-order
Yeah.
on Amazon. Now, this obviously is kind of like cross of both worlds. TCG, that stands for trading card games, if you don't know what that means, as well as video games. Obviously, Final Fantasy, the franchise is quite huge. It's ironic that you selected this particular article because I was just talking about that this afternoon about people looking for the Final Fantasy commander decks already, and
Yeah.
that they were speaking to me about the pre-orders, like people gobbling them up already. And it's
Yeah, I
funny.
can tell you the one that's going to be eaten up the quickest out of all of them is going to be the one with Cloud.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And actually, that is the exact commander. That's the exact one he was talking about, talking to me today
Yep.
about the Cloud one. And so here at Flynn's Arcade and Flynn's Hobby Shop in Margate, Florida, we do have TCG here, trading card games. We have a great Pokemon League that meets on Wednesdays. We would love to start working on our Magic. Tuesdays, my bad. Thanks, Senpai. Tuesdays, my bad. We have D&D on Wednesdays. So many things going on here that get kind of frustrated in my mind. So Pokemon League on Tuesdays, 6:30 to 9 here at Flynn's Hobby Shop in Margate, Florida, right next door to the arcade. And actually, if you're around, next Thursday is Pokemon Day. On the 27th, we're doing a whole Pokemon thing here at the arcade or at the hobby shop, starting at 6:30. Come on out and check that out. But we were talking about Magic the Gathering. So, Jake, I was actually digging through our distribution wholesalers for this particular game and for this particular set, actually. And what we've been struggling with across the board, specifically with Pokemon, has been allocation for this in general, right? And so I hit up our distributors directly through an email, and I said, hey, listen, I know that this Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy sets are coming out, and I asked them, hey, what is the dealio with this particular game? How's it going to be launched? What's going to happen with this? What's the street date and all that kind of stuff? And obviously they said, pre-sales are going to be allocated. My concern is the same BS that happened with Pokemon when allocation was given wholeheartedly to Target and freaking Walmart before the mom and pop shops.
I wouldn't be surprised because it's that popular.
I would not be surprised at all. I'm just going to log in actually to one of our distributors' websites. But why don't we... why do you think this is significant? While I dig into this, Jake, why do you think this is significant? I mean, I know the answer, but maybe people haven't been exposed to Final Fantasy or the card games in general for this.
Well, it's a collaboration between two big brands. Like Magic the Gathering's been around for a very long time. I used to collect and play Magic the Gathering like years ago. I actually had paintings of some of the classic Magic the Gathering cards hung up in my old house years ago. But the same thing also with Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is a big brand, for in gaming as an RPG and fantasy setting or fantasy type of like IP. So seeing them two like collaborate into something interesting like that, I think is pretty cool. We saw something like this with Lord of the Rings not too long ago. We actually had the Lord of the Rings collaboration with Magic, and now we're getting Final Fantasy. It'd be interesting to see if this does very well, if we get to see more of it, because Final Fantasy is that big of a brand, and there's a lot of people that just love Final Fantasy stuff that they'll collect these or they'll buy them like that. I don't know if we're gonna have a lot of characters that are going to be showing up in this like collaboration, because outside of the commander decks and stuff, because I don't look into the full sets and stuff. I only saw what was being reported on at the time, but I could totally see characters like Sephiroth. I could see characters like, obviously Titus got one, but Yuna or the Warrior of Light or the Cloud of Darkness or Bartz or the Onion Knight or different characters like that from throughout like Final Fantasy's history showing up in some way. Clive from Final Fantasy 16, Noctis getting his own card. I could totally see that happening because there's so much wealth of stuff to pull from that they could actually utilize in Magic the Gathering and make new cards, make new sets or whatever else.
I'm seeing here, Jake, actually, in this particular set, you're going to have a bunch of different, obviously, options to purchase from, right? So
yeah.
Here I'm seeing, obviously, we have the Final Fantasy bundle, the bundle gift edition, the collector booster display, the collector deck carton, the commander deck carton, and the play booster display, as well as a starter kit carton. And then obviously it says here, obviously launching June 13th, celebrating the Final Fantasy franchise across all 16 mainline games.
Yeah.
And it will be a commander-focused set, meaning ready-to-play decks that highlight legendary heroes, villains, and iconic spells from the series. And that's interesting. Well, I'm not going to share.
No boosters.
What was that?
So no boosters.
Well, what I see here, typically what I've seen, and I'm actually looking at them right now. So just for you out there in TV land who may be watching this, who are interested in this, just to give you some insider information. I mean, nothing that any store can't tell you. We have a street date, June 13th, right? Even in the article, it talked about that coming out. The cards are set to be released on June 13th, but you can pre-order them right now. And then I see here that the delivery date is anticipated for the 11th, right?
Well, so you get it like 2 days early, so
Yeah.
knowing people.
Yeah, usually I'm looking at the dates here, June 13th. Holy crap, actually, June 13th is a Friday. That's kind of interesting. So the shops...
I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's exactly what it's for.
That's perfect. So they probably, that's not a coincidence, right? So they getting them on that Wednesday predominantly, and potentially releasing them out on that 13th. I'm assuming shops are going to do midnight releases. We are obviously going to pre-order some here. But what I'm seeing here, honestly, Jake, I think you're right, because I see here the bundle, which now has 9 play boosters inside of it. That's what I'm seeing on the box. And then that'll be interesting. But I don't see...
Because it's like commander deck focus, so I don't know if they're actually selling booster boxes or stuff.
I was going to say, I see a booster display, but the booster display here for the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering, I'm just cracking it open real quick, guys. Okay, so yes, they are doing it. It's called a collector. Okay. It's called collector boosters, Jake. And it looks like this particular box comes with... I'm trying to see if there's any details in terms of the specific. Contains 50 magic cards. There's a huge paragraph.
It's going to contain cards, or they're going to have opportunities to contain cards that are not in those commander decks, right?
Yeah, usually, and they're usually they're kind of the build onto the deck, and there are 15 cards in each pack, and then, man, the MSRP on this bad boy, whew, it's going to be a pretty penny for anybody out there in TV land who wants to buy this stuff. I'm looking at prices on this side, and this is no freaking joke. I mean, they are talk about throwing some cash down for names that people know, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, dude, the fact that, well, with deck cartons, the way the deck cartons, are you familiar with how the distribution works with TCG at all, Jake?
No,
okay,
not at all.
So basically, what I've come to know, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there in TV land, is that a lot of times with the TCG world, in order to get each quote unquote character, like Cloud, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Each one, they come in packs of 4. So usually 9 times out of 10, when you're buying these collector packs or these collector decks, it comes in 4, right? So you should have one of each. So it doesn't really allow you, from what I found, to pick and choose which ones you want. right? So if a shop wants, let's say, I don't know, 10 cloud, right? Commander decks, that means they may have to order 10 deck cartons of 4 in order to get the 10.
Okay.
And so I found that to be always kind of interesting how they structure it that way. And even though sometimes they will break the boxes up, the price here, I'm not going to go into pricing because this might be just something I don't know if they've released all the pricing yet, but it's significant. So
Yeah.
I am definitely interested to see how
I'm not
this is going
surprised by that because, like I said, it's Final Fantasy and it's Magic, and Final Fantasy, is definitely a premium brand in some ways.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the collectibles.
I agree wholeheartedly. And what I'm seeing here, too, just as a final note about the Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy, I'm just going to put the name in real quick because I want to tell you guys, you could technically approach your local shop if you want to approach them for pre-orders, if you want to shop local, which I recommend, even if it's not at Flynn's. I'm looking right here, guys, and maybe I'm going to say it anyways. Who cares? It looks like the cutoff date for pre-orders for most shops is the beginning of May. So I'm seeing it here, guys. You do have time, but obviously, if you want to scoop up the Final Fantasy decks, definitely approach your local game shop. Here at Flynn's, I will be ordering quite a bit of stuff. If you have interest in that, by all means, hit me up. I'd be more than happy to pre-order it. And once again, allocation, we don't know whether or not it's going to come around. But yeah, Jake, it's interesting to see these crossovers. I mean, Magic the Gathering has been infamous for this. Think about the other sets they've come out with that had the collaboration between the video games and cards. What's the other one you thought of?
Video games and cards, because I was going to say with Magic, they had it specifically with Lord of the Rings not that long ago.
Lord of the
But with
Rings.
cards and stuff. I could say there was definitely one for Shovel Knight a while back that I actually did an unboxing for.
Yep.
I've done, obviously, the Final Fantasy TCG that I've unboxed, and I've actually checked out that a couple of years ago that they did.
And then also Magic the Gathering did Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Assassin's Creed, they did one as well.
And they also did Fallout.
I don't remember Fallout, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be surprised.
So they've done a lot of these collaboration crossovers. So Wizards of the Coast, I'm really interested to see where they're going to go with this product, and I'm interested to see how fast it moves. And it's crazy out there in the TCG world. So if you're going to go out there and start searching and hunting yourself, please be please be prepared to battle the crowds. But once again, if you're able to locally support your TCG shop or game store, if they have it, by all means, that's like really, I don't know, important, supporting that small business, that local small business. So, guys, there you have it. We've hit the head on quite a few different topics, and I always want to end it with just something different. So, Jake, what's on your playing roster this week other than the Fatal Fury City of Wolves open beta? What are you playing currently?
So, a couple things I've been diving into most recently, especially off of Xbox Game Pass. I've been playing Avowed that came out not that long ago. It's on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate right now, so you could get it, play it. It came out on day one. It's a fantasy RPG. I believe it's set in the Pillars of Eternity universe. If you ever played Pillars of Eternity, the RPG, or know anything about that universe, it's an FPS / third-person shooter action role-playing game. If you know anything about Obsidian Entertainment, they're the guys that made Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. They made The Outer Wilds. The Outer Wilds. They did a bunch of different RPGs out there that I know a lot of people probably love and probably played over the years. So it's interesting. I have my issues with it. I'm probably going to talk about it in a TikTok video tomorrow when I get a chance later in the day, if not the day after. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts to share about it. But besides that, playing the Fatal Fury beta, been messing around with a couple games off of PlayStation Plus that I downloaded, and then going back to every once in a while to Marvel Rivals, to Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and a little bit of Tekken 8, just here and there whenever I can.
Always interesting to hear what you're playing. I've always liked the indie games that you pop up. Here at the arcade, I've been digging into, a lot of people don't know that I typically play the arcade games here at the arcade when we're not open to the public. I usually turn some on and enjoy a couple when I'm testing games and things of that nature. I've been digging heavily into Bust a Move, a.k.a. Puzzle Bobble. It's a game released in 1994. It was on the Neo Geo. And it's a really cool puzzle game. It's in the back of the arcade. If you've never checked it out, it's in our beautiful Neo Geo cabinet. It is an original cartridge from that era. I believe it was 1994 is when it was released internationally, or internationally known as Bust a Move. It's a super fun game. And also, speaking about what I've been working on here when it comes to games, is that I'll be making a run most likely to Orlando in the next couple of days, hopefully to pick up a game or two for the arcade, things that I want to integrate into the arcade. Manny and Ant have been helping me greatly on getting everything organized. The game that we've been working on kind of compiling all the pieces for is none other than the Mario-centric, I call it like the Tetris clone, right? And that is, any guesses, Jake? Mario. Dr. Mario, exactly. Dr. Mario is a puzzle video game released in 1990 and obviously is developed and published by Nintendo. So that is going to be coming into the arcade sooner than later. I have the cabinet, I have the control panel, I have the game, I have all that stuff. I just got to put all that beautiful stuff together because I've always enjoyed it, and I try to introduce different games to the arcade as much as possible. And in addition to that, we obviously have Nicktoons, or the Nick Nitro racing game. GTI is on the floor as well. A bunch of other newer arcade games are on the floor, new to the Flynn's family. And then we're working on a podium style game, but I don't want to say too much about that because we have a really cool idea of how we want to do it at the arcade. So not so much playing video games like you, Jake, over the last couple of days, but definitely hands into it to figure out what's going on. So once again, guys, we really appreciate tuning in for Press F to Start, where we are your go-to source with all the gaming news that we can possibly cram into a podcast. This is episode 2. Once again, a shout out to all those podcasts underneath the Uncensored Nerds Network, including ours, Press F to Start, presented by Flynn's Arcade. We also want to give a shout out to, once again, Uncensored Nerds Network in general, the Comic-Com podcast, We Got Issues, Plot Hole Pro, Beyond the Cape. Be sure to check out Jake James Lugo on all his social media platforms, TikTok and X and all those sorts of things. You can find us here at Flynn's, either in real life in Margate, Florida, or online at Flynn's Gaming FL. Shout out to our friend Silverback Senpai, who helps us out as well with the South Florida Gaming Podcast. And Jake, also, you have all your stuff's typically Jake James Lugo, right?
Yeah, everything is at Jake James Lugo on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all over the place. It's at Jake James Lugo.
So you can check him out. Everything there. It's going to be tons of fun, guys. And remember, actually, it is now 12:45 a.m. We have Rikishi here from WWE, WWF Hall of Fame here at the arcade tonight, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And we also have a really cool board game day here at the Hobby Shop on Saturday from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. and a bunch of other really cool festivities for the rest of the week. So anyways, guys, really appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in for episode 2. We can't wait to see you for episode 3. Be sure to like, subscribe, click that notification button wherever you're listening to or watching. And know you're appreciated and loved. Your life has meaning and value. And if we can ever be of assistance, please reach out. So, Jake, really appreciate your time, brother. And we will see you guys on episode 3.
Take it easy, everyone.
Later, guys.
Laters.